Hey there, how's this going? How's everybody? Thanks for being here. My name is Kenny Graham. This is a Yin Yoga class, and this class, I just call it mobility. So to be able to breathe well, we need good mobility, we need movement in our rib cage, we need movement of our diaphragm, we need the space to breathe. So mobility in the body becomes important, having the right amount of tension in our tissue, and mobility of the breath. Why the breath? Because the breath helps to bring us back into our center, keep us grounded, keep us present, keep us communicative, keep us listening. So this class called mobility, and we're doing it for body and breath. If you have any props, if you have a blanket, that'd be awesome. A strap would be cool. A block, if you got it. And we're gonna get going. So, Yin Yoga, 1 hour, mobility for body and breath. We'll sit up tall, eyes open or eyes closed, and we'll just center this practice with one Om. Deep breath in. So then starting here, what I'd like you to do is just take 2 or 3 deep breaths, notice how it feels now, and then we'll breathe, take 2 or 3 really focused deep breaths at the end of practice, notice if it changes at all, okay? What I think we'll notice is easier, deeper, smoother breath after practice. So 3 deep breaths in and out, in through the nose, out through the nose, or out through the mouth. Notice what it feels like to breathe here. Are there parts that are open, parts that are tight, parts that feel free? Right on. So now we'll come into downward facing dog to start. So you can just move everything out of the way. And take your hands a little wider than the shoulders. Stretch your hips up and back. And then in this dog, you might choose to hold it, or you can even start to pedal it out. So I notice when I pedal the legs, first thing, I find all sort of the tight spots. Back of the leg, upper thigh, a little bit into the glute. So just this pedal can help to start to open up the tissue. Now, even opening up the hips, opening up the hamstrings, opening up the rib cage, front, back, opening up the lateral flank of the body, they all help us to breathe better. And when we're breathing well, this body is running well. 2 more breaths here. And then come down to your knees. Hands a little wider than the shoulders. Knees can go together, or you can take the feet, knees, hip distance apart, and it's a exhale cat. Inhale cow. Exhale cat. Inhale cow. We're doing 3. One more. Exhale cat. Inhale cow. And neutral spine. Panda. Knees hip distance. Left arm threads between Right arm, right knee, come down onto the forearm or down onto the shoulder. 3 breaths here. Right arm, you can stretch it out or keep it bent in the elbow. If it feels good, you can take the right leg out to the right and curl more into that left shoulder. But be with the breath. We use this to even open up the tissue on that right side of the body, right lung, as we breathe. Inhale up, back to center. Okay, right arm through. Forearm or shoulder. Left arm can stretch out or elbow bent. And it's 3 breaths. Right on, and then back to center. And we're going to come back into down dog again. Slide the knees back, inhale up and back. This time we're going to hold it. First one we pedaled, this one we hold. Knees can be bent or legs straight, hands pressed down. Draw the belly in, stretch, lengthen your thighs, hips back. Maybe the legs go to straight. I want you to notice where you feel the tension. So the pose isn't about, oh, I have to have straight legs and my heels have to touch the floor. It's about meeting the sensation, getting that stretch through the back of the legs. Inhale, walk the feet forward towards your hands, bend your knees. All right, and then we're going to bow forward here, fingertips floor. If that's too much for your back, you can stay up even on your shins. We're going to use this to open, again, the backhand side of the body. We're going to use it also to connect to the breath. So balance the weight, toes, heels. On your inhales, breathe all the way down to your sit bones, down into your legs. On your exhale, let the spine soften. One more breath here. And then inhale all the way up, stretch to the sky. This is the only time we'll be up here. Exhale, hands down. Right on. Bring your left hand on your hip. Inhale your right arm up. Draw the belly in. Inhale, lift your lungs up. Exhale, take it over. Reach down through your right foot, up through your right arm. You can look up past the arm or down towards the floor. Opening up the breathing, opening up the side of the body, the obliques. Rise up, lower the arm down. Right hand, right hip. Inhale, left arm up. Exhale, take it over. Keep the belly strong. Reach down through the feet, up through the left arm. You can look up past the arm or down, meeting the tension in the obliques, opening up the sides of the rib cage. One more breath here. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, release. So I think sometimes to find mobility, or even the yoga practice itself, it's what's simple that works. So you can get fancy, it's cool, but functionally it's like bend forward, hips back, touch floor, stretch the back of the body. So we keep it simple. Find your breath. Breathe all the way, and this might not seem so simple, but breathe all the way your attention down into your legs. Even if you just do 1 or 2 of these poses, I guarantee it changes perspective. Inhale partway up, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step back, hands, knees to the floor. And then you're going to sit back on your heels or up on a block. Interlace your hands, turn the palms forward, stretch your arms up. Draw your belly lightly in, lift the chin, breathe. Your inhales will lift, your exhale soften. One more breath here. And then exhale, touch the floor, slide the knees back, come all the way down onto your belly. Come onto your forearms for Sphinx pose. So you can be here, or if it's too much, slide your elbows further forward. If you want more, you might even use the hands on the floor. I'm going to go forearms. Feet, how wide? I want you to feel for yourself what feels good. Draw the belly in. We're going 3 breaths here. Breathing, belly draws in, breathing all the way down towards the low back on the inhales. On the exhale, soften. It's 3 breaths. One more inhale. And as you exhale, just let the whole pose settle, relax. Notice if there's a spot you're gripping, holding. Right on. And then take your forehead down to the floor. And from here, we're going to roll it right onto our back. Flip it over. Okay, on the back, and if you have a wall, take your feet on the wall. Have your strap nearby for the next pose, but feet on the wall for now. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. So you can straighten that left leg out, cross right ankle over left thigh, and then bend the knee. We're looking for a stretch in the right glute. If you want more, scoot yourself closer to the wall. Or take your sit bones down. So here you can let the arms go wide, and we're working into the right glute. So any small shift that helps you to feel the tension, because we want to feel the tension, meet the tension in that right glute. Oftentimes what happens is in life, we don't want to feel the tension, so we do whatever we do to get away from it. Here in yoga, in this practice at least, we're going into the tension, meeting it, and can we relax into it? So we're not forcing the pose, we're just using it to get us into that hip. And release the right leg, foot to the wall. Cross the left ankle over the right thigh. Eye the needle. And then any shift that helps you to get and meet the tension in the left glute, go with that. It's about 5 slow breaths here. So meeting the tension, let the breath just flow easy. Then release the left foot. Scoot yourself closer to the wall. And we're going to go a couple minutes here. Okay, ready? So feet open. It's almost like a happy baby, but you have your feet up on the wall. So frog style legs or happy baby. And then we go 2 minutes here. It doesn't have to be super intense, but the target, just so you're clear, is the adductor muscles, the inner thigh. If it feels better with straight legs, by all means, I'm going bent knees with some support from my hands. So you can think yin, like yin is like quality of the moon. So it's soft, it's easy, it's that reflective light. So I use whatever props, including my hands, bolsters, blankets, straps, to help support the pose so I can go more into that sort of moonlight state, like let myself slow down, stop anticipating what's next, and just be with what is right here. And what is could be a bit of tension. And with each inhale, you breathe into it. With each exhale, you let it go. So just about halfway there. If it gets too much, then do less. If all of a sudden the tension fades, maybe you stay with that, or maybe you open it up a little bit more. Go into the next layer of the tension. So after this pose, we'll take what's called a rebound. We'll come out of it. You can either go legs up the wall or lay on your mat, on your back, legs stretched out, and just notice the sensations, the quality of chi, prana after the pose. Chi or prana is like the life force, energy in the body. Sometimes it's excessive, the energy. We need to bring it down, and sometimes we have a lack of, so either we need to rest or get some movement to wake it up. We now slowly bring the legs back together. You can go legs up the wall or come onto your back, and it's literally just 1 minute just to feel the effects of the pose. 1 minute, you just stretch it out. Hands can go on your heart, on your belly, or to your side, and you just notice the sensation of the pose. What's that feel like for you? So increased mobility also has to do with like being able to sense, to feel our proprioception. Where am I in space? And when the tissue's open and the breath's full, we get our balance is better, our sense of space is better. Right on. Okay, bend both knees. Right leg up. You can strap the foot. So here we're looking again, we're tensioning the tissue of the calf, hamstring. Whatever you do with this right leg, point the foot, flex it, bend the knee, straighten the leg, turn it in, turn the toes out, turn the toes in, take your hips down. Will influence the tension of that leg. So 2 minutes here, just noticing when you meet the stretch. Your left foot can stay on the floor, knee bent, or you can straighten the left leg out. So you're just looking to tension the tissue in the back of that leg. Doesn't have to be super intense. And any shift, left, right, turning femur, thigh bone in, out, it's going to influence it. So for me, I find my own personal tension, this unique place in my tissue. And then I meet it. Can you meet it with the breath? It doesn't have to be super intense. But it doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable either when you meet the tension. But what comes out of meeting the tension is greater mobility, right? But if you're too intense when you meet the tension, you can overdo it and actually decrease mobility. This is yoga. We meet the tension. How does it increase stable mobility? Couple more breaths here. Right on. Okay, now lower your right leg to the floor. And then just notice how it feels. Just check out how it feels after you stretch it. Just notice the difference from right to left. So mobility is the movement, but it's also the chi, the prana. What's that leg feel like? Is there more movement? Is the energy more mobile? Is it moving through the body? That's it. Bend both knees. Take the left leg up. Increasing prana chi through the left leg. Keep your right knee bent or straighten your right leg out. And then everything you do with your toes, with your ankle, with your knee, with your hip will influence this one. Everything you do with your femur. So here, this is a pretty safe pose, you know? Pretty safe. So you just notice for yourself, when do you meet the tension? What I want you to avoid is like feeling that pull all the way to the low back. I want you to try to stay in the legs. There could be a little movement of the leg, like I cross it towards the belly button a little bit. Or it could be out slightly. That increases or introduces you to the tension. So it doesn't have to be intense, but it does have to be slightly in tension. Because as we meet the tension, then we increase mobility. In tension. To meet the tension. So you might hit a point of discomfort. Can you be with it? So yoga, you know, it helps us to feel pleasant, but it's not always pleasant. So for example, I'm in a place right now in this left leg that's not, it's just the tissue feels tighter. It's my mind wants to escape the pose. And I'm just trying to stay with it. We're almost there. Just breathe into it. And then exhale, release that left leg down. Let it release and just soften on the floor. That's it, right? That's what we're looking for. That open flow of prana, of chi through the body. Opening up the front of the chest. Here we go. Bend both knees. Take your feet a little wider than your hips. Your feet, toes might point straight ahead or turn out slightly. I'm going to hold the edges of my yoga mat and walk my shoulders up. So we're going bridge pose, supported by the mat, holding the mat. And then inhale, lift the hips up. Take the shoulders under. Notice the backs of the legs, how those muscles turn on, and use the muscles in the belly to help support. We're going to go just 3 breaths here. The inhales filling up the rib cage. The exhales easy. Using the breath to open the chest. One more inhale. Pull the yoga mat like you're trying to pull it from under the feet, and then release the shoulders wide again, lower the hips down. And that's it. That's our bridge for this yin class. Now from here, we're going to go feet together, both knees over to the right. We're coming into a twist. Arms wide. If it's too much, put a blanket or a bolster underneath the right thigh. Because I want you to try to relax into it. So if you need to, height up. Notice where you feel the breath go as you breathe in the twist. Noticing when, where you meet the tension in the pose. So we're twisting. I want it more of a relaxed twist, but prop up as much as you need to if it feels intense in the back. Almost there. Take 3 more breaths. Okay, then back to center. And stretch your legs out. Then pause for a moment. Notice the effects of the pose on the breath, on the energy in the body. And bend both knees. Give yourself a little squeeze in before the second side. Feet to floor. Both legs to the left. So we're working into that right flank, right hip. And we're offering it some breath working to increase the mobility of the ribs, the mobility of the spine. Here we twist, and each vertebrae starts to meet the one above in the transverse processes. I think the wings of the vertebrae above and below meet. So noticing where you feel this. It doesn't have to be super intense. And if it's too much with the knees on the floor, stacked up, then prop your legs up on a bolster. So the pose doesn't have to be as deep as you can go to get the benefits. Just taking it easy, opening up that tissue in the lateral line of the body. Three more breaths. And then when you're ready, legs back to the center. Stretch your legs out. Let your feet come down to the floor. Let the feet fall open. So we're treating these poses. We're sustaining the hold. We're using the holds to meet the tension, to open up the tissue. So a couple more breaths here on your back. And then when you're ready, bend both knees, roll to your right. Take a second. So what's nice about the yin practice is, even if you just show up to practice and do 2 or 3 poses, 5, 10 minutes, or the full hour, I think you'll find benefits. Sometimes that's all we got time for. But even if we take a minute to pause, I think it helps. Come on up to seated. Bring the bottoms of your feet together. Now with that said, if seated is too difficult for your low back here, you can do this one reclined. Scoot your sit bones back and bow forward, butterfly. So now we're going to target that breath into the back of the body, that opening up of the tissue on the back. So you can go feet together, or you can even separate the feet further apart. If you have a bolster, or a big cushion, feel free to put that under the belly, under the head. The head might even be supported by drawing the chin in, skull back. Slowing the breath down. If it's too much seated, do it on your back. And then inhale, come up. And stretch the legs out. Take them wide. So now we're going to twist. We're going to twist over the right leg. So each side will be about 1 minute. So turn the body, move over the front leg. How far are you going to go down? That's up to you. Meet the tension. Like here, I feel it in the opposite. As I turn to the right, I feel it in the left adductor. You might even get this through the quadratus laborum, or that connection from the top of the hip to the first rib, this muscle here. So each side, just about a minute. Again, if you have a bolster blanket, use yourself some height. Prop up. So we did frog before at the wall. That targets the inner thighs. This, for many, it hits it just slightly different, or a different area. One more breath. Breathe all the way into the hips. Right on. Inhale, rise up. And then notice for a second when you come back to middle, what's it feel from left to right? Which side feels more grounded? I'll tell you, it's my left side, the side that I stretched away from. Okay, second side. Turn over the left leg. Now you're probably going to meet that stretch through the right inner thigh, and then start to bow. So here's the thing I want you to take out of your mind. I'm trying to lay down on my left leg. Now, if you can, cool. But really, what we're doing is to increase mobility. Mobility is the equal of enough tension, enough strength, with enough movement, enough flexibility to be mobile, to move healthy. You can be immobile, not able to move, or we can even be hypermobile. So as I approach my practice, I think what creates good mobility, good movement patterns, the ability to do what I want to do in life. So rather than the pose as like final purpose, like, oh, I'm trying to get into this pose and do this pose, rather than pose as like that's the purpose, is to do the pose. It's pose as profit, like what comes from the pose. Pose as profit, like is the energy, is there an increased wealth of prana, chi flow in the body, an increased abundance of mobility, movement with steadiness and ease. So the payoff's not always in how far I can go into the pose, but what are the effects of the pose where I'm at. Inhale, come on up. Good job. Bend the knees, bring the legs back together. We're going to do one more here. So we're going to do fire log, left leg under, right leg top. Now for me, this is a big one. This knee gets lifted up a lot. For some, this can be too much. Option: straighten the legs out, cross the right ankle over the left, lean back onto the hands, slide the leg in, meet the stretch in the glute. So we're either in fire log or we're in fire log variation. Now I'm already feeling it. You might even start to bow forward. One minute here. Where I don't want you to feel this is in your knees. So you're either in fire log or one knee bent, leg crossed. Like half fire log. And then inhale, rise up and stretch it out. One more side. Right leg in, left leg top. So either here or left ankle over right, draw it in. So half fire log. And here we go. So you're getting into that tension in the tissue. You're just meeting it, meeting it. So it doesn't have to be super intense, but it doesn't mean it's going to be super comfortable either as you work into the tissue of that left glute. And then inhale, come on up. And take that leg out and stretch them out. All right, this is down onto the back. Bend both knees, shift your hips forward, come all the way down. Stretch your legs out. Take both feet over to your left. Take your upper body over to your left. So we're doing a crescent pose here. Now, if you need extra support, you can use a blanket underneath your right hip as you crescent to the left. Arms can come overhead, or you might rest the hands on the belly. Right foot can cross over left, or even left foot over right. So we're looking to tension. I want you to keep a long pose, even as you crescent, but tension the tissue on the right side. So that blanket under the right hip is nice because it can keep you resting in the pose rather than trying to keep yourself from rolling to the right. Just noticing where you meet the tension through that right leg, through the right oblique, maybe even up through the tissue around the armpit. Right on, then we're gonna bring it here back to center and stretch the legs out for a moment. Then both legs over to the right, upper body to the right. You can cross that right ankle over the left. Arms might come overhead or on the belly. Blanket under the left hip if you don't want to tip. Just slowing the breath down. Right on, one more breath. That's the timer. And then back to center. And lengthen the legs out. And just notice how the outer hips, obliques feel after that stretch. We did the same standing earlier. This reclined one, it goes more into my legs. Standing goes more into the oblique, probably because of the weight, gravity. Bend both knees. Draw the legs in towards the chest. Cross the left ankle over the right. Take your hips down on the floor. Take a deep breath in. And all the way out. And you might pull the legs in. Thighs in towards the chest. Now release the legs. Happy baby. Grab hold of the shins or grab hold the little toe side of the foot. Give yourself a little rock left to right. You might straighten one leg and then keep the other bent. Just notice where you meet the tension. So right now I'm just kind of playing with the pose, like bending a knee on one side, the other side, taking the knees in slightly, knees out. We get so stuck sometimes in just, hey, you got to be in this exact position, hold that position, don't move, and come out of the pose. But sometimes it's good. You just check out the range of motion there, check out the movement, check out where you meet the tension. You got to give yourself a little freedom too to explore. Feet to the floor. Feet as wide as your yoga mat. This is our last pose. Both knees over to the left. So your feet are as wide as the yoga mat. Knees go to the left. Belly lightly draws in. And you might lengthen that thigh bone down. Notice on what angle is that knee and when do you meet the tension in that thigh. So me pushing it towards the floor, I don't feel anything. If I lift the thigh up and lengthen the thigh bone or the right leg down, then I meet something new. So for yourself, when do you meet it? Where I don't want you to meet it is in the inner or outer knee. Meet it in the tissue of the thigh. Even inside the rim of the pelvis. And up to center. Pause. And then over to your right with both legs. And meet the tension in the tissue. When do you meet it? I draw my belly lightly in and I lengthen that left thigh bone slightly out. And back to center. And that's it. And then stretch both legs out. We're going to take a minute rebound here. And then we'll come up to seated. If you need a longer rebound, a longer shavasana, feel free. But we're just going to go 1 minute here just to let the practice settle. Let the body settle into the earth. So your feet might be as wide as your yoga mat. Your arms might be on the floor. Your hands might be on your belly if that helps you to stay grounded. Just 30 seconds more. So we still the body, but then notice the inner sensations. That's it. And then bend both knees and roll to your right hand side or left. I'm going left. I like to switch that up. Take a breath here and just let that breath out through your mouth or nose. And then we'll come up to seated. Cross leg. And here, 3 breaths to close. If you made it this far, good job. So 3 deep breaths, noticing what it's like to sit on the floor now after practice and how the breath feels in the body. Let the breath go all the way to the belly. Belly expands, chest expands. And all the way out. Notice where your mind is. Are you back to the center? So we want the mind to be mobile, but remember, mobility is that balance between flexibility and stability. So may these practices help us to come back to center so that as we move through the world, we know what direction to go and we can move with ease. Thank you for practicing today. My name is Kenny Graham. You can find me at Kenny Graham Yoga on all social media outlets and on my website and on YouTube. I'm around. Have a great day. Thanks for being here.